of the high-stakes talks in Islamabad, the US and Iran are preparing for a fresh diplomatic push, with US Vice President JD Vance leading the US delegation that also includes Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, while reports suggest Iran's parliament speaker Mohammad Baqer Qalibaf leading the Iran side, even as Iran's official confirmation on attending the talks is still awaited. Mediated by Pakistan, the negotiations aim to stabilize a fragile ceasefire following weeks of intense conflict. But is there actually a ceasefire? While both sides have indicated a temporary halt in hostilities, the truce remains uncertain and loosely defined. Here's all we need to know and what we know, in fact, so far about the ongoing ceasefire.
Ahead of high-stakes peace talks in Islamabad between delegations led by U.S. Vice President JD Vance and Iran's Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baqer Qalibaf, a fragile ceasefire hangs in the balance. Here's what we know about the truce. Iran and the United States agreed on Tuesday to a 2-week ceasefire, but fighting has continued across the Middle East, with heavy airstrikes pounding Lebanon. Dr. Borju Özçelik is a senior research fellow on Middle East security at Royal United Services Institute.
2 weeks is a very short window, and it will likely fly by. Of course, the 2 weeks is also not guaranteed to be uninterrupted by acts of violence or breaches of the ceasefire. Will be a very fragile window of opportunity to negotiate some of these key sticking points.
Meanwhile, there was no sign Iran was completely lifting its near-total blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to devastate Iran if it didn't reopen the waterway.
Trump seems to expect an immediate clear passage, and Iran seems to be setting certain conditions, or at least wants to work within certain parameters. What I think one of the strategic or narrative victories that Iran was able to win as well was that it shifted the focus of the war away from the nuclear issue to reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
Iranian state television said a first vessel transited the Strait of Hormuz with Tehran's permission after the ceasefire, but shipping sources reported the Iranian Navy was threatening vessels attempting to pass. Iran said it could lift its blockade ahead of peace talks, though ships would still need Iranian approval. The two sides enter peace talks with sharply different agendas, with the U.S. pressing Iran to halt uranium enrichment, give up its missiles, and stop backing regional allies. All demands it had already made in talks it abandoned 2 days before the war started.
The Iranian proposal suggests that all sanctions, primary and secondary, will be lifted, that Iran will be paid compensation for war damages, and that the U.S. has effectively agreed to allow Iran to enrich uranium, and that it will continue to retain sovereign control over the Strait of Hormuz. It's very difficult at this very early stage to be able to discern decisively what is true and what is not. This is a framework of principles, but I think really what both sides have agreed to is simply to come together in Pakistan to talk about their differences and try to find a way forward over the next 2 weeks.
And on to Pakistan now. Islamabad has ramped up security ahead of expected US-Iran talks, with authorities enforcing strict measures across the city. A 2-day public holiday has been declared to reduce movement, while police have set up checkpoints, especially around the high-security red zone, conducting vehicle checks. Schools and shops remain largely shut, with only limited activity visible in some areas. Many residents have welcomed the precautions, citing safety concerns. The heightened security comes as Pakistan prepares to host crucial talks between the United States and Iran, aiming to ease tensions and stabilizing the West Asian region.